Eddie, I know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate you doing this.
Hey man, listen, it's actually an absolute honor to be able to do this. I know you obviously just had like a chat with Dan, and being able to put me kind of like side by side with that, it's actually a pretty cool moment. So I really appreciate you bringing me on. I'm really looking forward to having a chat and talking a little bit about streaming and a bit about Kick. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think we already prefaced the chat. We appreciate you coming on as well. We've conversed ahead of time. There's going to be some hardball questions throughout this, but it's a lot of community questions. I think there's going to be a lot of great moments that you're not afraid to speak on, that are going to give the community a lot of great insight on Kick, and of course we're going to be talking about competitive platforms. And just coming off the Twitch CEO interview, it's again, it's an honor on our side to have this conversation as well. So, we all ready, chat? They're saying Eddie up a tiny bit. I just want to make sure we're all good on sound. Like last time, we weren't able to.
I got it.
Let me check the my stream. Hey, you guys can hear Jake all good as well?
Hey, what's up, Eddie's chat? Can you guys hear me? Testing. This is the volume I was talking with.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Perfect. Yes. I'm getting lots of yeses. You guys are
sweet. Awesome. Okay. Well, what is up, peeps? We hope you guys are all ready to enjoy this great interview. We're coming off the Twitch CEO interview, so we want to give a warm welcome to the Kick CEO as well. Eddie, how you doing?
Doing incredible. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. We're going to kick it right off because we got so many questions from the community. Obviously, with the ongoing streaming and platform wars, Kick has made a bit of a roar, and I'm sure you've seen all the headlines as of late. And I want to kick it off. It sucks. You know, it was going to happen eventually using that word. But I think a lot of people overall are wanting to know, with Kick's business model, can you go through that step by step a bit more? It's been widely talked about 95.5, these incredible sub splits that you're offering these streamers that have been really unheard of in the streaming space. So when it comes to the overall business model of Kick, can you go through that a little bit, details for the viewers?
Yeah, no, I think people getting caught up right on Kick in regards mainly to the sub split, right? I think that's always the most contentious side of what makes Kick apparently not sustainable and all these other things that are thrown around. You know, we've got a big belief here at Kick that the one thing that should definitely never be touched is the sub split. The sub split is something which we consider to be almost donations, right? You receive a donation from your community, you receive subs from your community for making great content. And the whole concept of kind of dipping into that sub split, you know, our idea behind it is that's kind of unfair, right? We don't think that a platform, you know, just a platform that simply curates other people's content deserves a right to kind of take a split of people's revenue from donations, right? Donations are not something you should be taking money from. You know, obviously, you know, media in general, it can be monetized in so many other ways, right? Traditional media has been getting monetized very, very effectively for, you know, many years now. And the whole concept of suddenly dipping into subscriptions is something which I believe is, you know, pretty much only known across the live streaming space. So, you know, we take a strong stance that that's not required. You know, at the moment for Kick, we're definitely looking more towards advertising down the line as being the primary sort of business model. That is where we think that we can turn this into an extremely, you know, sustainable business. And I don't think we need to go into the whole concept of, you know, not only taking sort of, you know, 30% or even in some cases more of people's donations. And, you know, that is something we feel super strong about, and it's been sort of our main sort of get-go sort of mantra behind Kick from the start.
I think a lot of people also wonder, as a follow-up to that, is how is Kick's business model sustainable?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot, right? And I think the biggest misconception with live streaming is the fact that, you know, it's extremely expensive. Don't get me wrong, it's expensive. There is costs that are incurred from live streaming, right? You know, hosting a live streaming broadcast, the data involved, the servers required to make that happen are expensive. There's no doubt, but not nearly as expensive as I think people assume them to be. There's this like online calculator, right? There's this online calculator. I'm sure you've seen it, Jake. You know, one where you can put in the hours and kind of calculate like how much it's going to cost. You know, people have looked at that calculator and they've forever gone, oh, wow, live streaming is so expensive. You know, I'll be the first person to say this, and I'm sure, so not the first person, but I'll publicly say this. So that number there is far from the number that anyone is truly paying in the industry. You know, we've seen some large server costs, but I think it's overly exaggerated just how expensive it is to run a streaming platform. Of course, you know, funds are required, and we will have to cover, you know, expenses at some point. But you know, just how much we need to cover, I truly think it is going to be a lot more achievable than people make it out to be. You know, I think a lot of people look at live streaming in an unfair sort of way, you know, mainly because, you know, other platforms claim it's really difficult. And, you know, I beg to say that this is not because of, you know, server expenses, but other inefficiencies potentially in the business. You know, if any other entity is inefficient or not making a profit, you know, people don't turn around and go, oh, you know, the industry is unprofitable, right? They look at the business typically and say, oh, they're operating poorly. You know, our belief is that if ran correctly, if we optimize certain aspects of the business, whether that be staffing, you know, whether that be other areas, we believe it to be 100% sustainable. And that is without having to, you know, take 30 or 40 or 50% of people's donations and all these other stuff that has become a new norm in the industry. You know, just because something became a norm in the industry doesn't mean it's right. You know, these last 10 years or so, we've seen these norms be set. And I truly believe that you know, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the correct way to do business.
And recently we had XQC, and we'll dive into this one in a bit because it's a fun one to talk about. But XQC himself was saying that he believes the future goal of Kick is to be a viable competitor as a streaming platform to Twitch, and maybe not directly involve gambling through sites like Stake. What would your response be to him saying that? Is that a possibility, you think?
So just to re-paraphrase, what do you mean by involves Stake?
I mean, I guess we could probably lead off before we get into that question of clarifying for the people at home. Everyone's been asking the question, what is the relationship between Kick and Stake?
Yeah, so a lot of people say that Kick is owned by Stake. Kick isn't definitely not owned by Stake in that capacity. We share some similar shareholders, you know, myself included. I've been very vocal about that from day dot. You know, I was just speaking about it on my stream earlier. I was the first person to ever do a live stream on Kick when it was actually called Kick.live. And that was a Stake stream, right? I've been very, very open about my relationship with Kick from the get-go. There's other shareholders of Stake that are also involved in Kick, but then again, there's also shareholders that aren't involved in either. In Kick and Stake, you know, together. So it is, of course, it's a different structure, it's a different entity, it's a separate entity, most importantly. But you know, there are individuals, key individuals that are, you know, heavily involved in both, and we're not trying to hide that by any means. We never have.
And so I think the way the XQC was trying to get his thought out was he believes that Kick can be a competitor to Twitch without directly involving Stake on its site. And I think what he means by this is whether it be through advertisements for Stake on Kick, he believes that without directly influencing gambling on the Kick platform, it can be a viable competitor to Twitch.
Yeah, I believe that is 100% our goal. I like to think that the Kick is already, you know, becoming a competitor to Twitch. I think it's, you know, we have to be very careful when we say that. Twitch is massive. Twitch is huge. They are a complete, you know, they're on a completely different level to Kick. There's no doubt about that. We're trying to challenge that status quo, and I think that Kick, with enough time, can definitely have a chance at competing. You know, involving Stake in that will never be a part of the equation. Right now, you don't see Stake ads popping up everywhere. That's not a part of what we're aiming to do. You know, Stake will continue to run. We you know, are involved with Stake. Stake is still an entity that me personally, I'm very actively involved with. But of course, the whole goal of Kick is to become a viable competitor. But we do understand we have a long way to go. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Twitch they probably don't even look at Kick as a competitor right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they still don't take it seriously. But I sure as hell can tell you, you know, the longer they don't take Kick seriously as a competitor is probably a good thing for us. We know it's a matter of time before we continue to grow this and hopefully, you know, reach those levels where you know, that is certainly the case. And I think it can be done most certainly without the you know, complete integration of Stake by any means.
So, Jake, you mind if I chime in for a second?
Yeah.
Just as you kind of answered it in that question, but just so people don't get confused, just to ask directly, a lot of people kind of have observations of, down the line, Kick is going to be showing steak advertisements. You're going to see it on the side, maybe even just see it in like pre-rolls or mid-rolls or whatever it is. So is there ever a world where steak advertisements would be featured on the site? And if they would have more of like, if so, if they'd have more of a priority maybe over other advertisements or larger frequency than other advertisements?
Listen, you can quote me on this right now. Similar to how I said we're never going to take away the 95-5 subsplit, we will not start running stake ads throughout Kick in the form of pre-rolls or mid-rolls or any of those kind of advertising methods. We're not going to do that. That would be I don't think it would be a conflict of interest. I think, obviously using Amazon as an example, right? They advertise their products on Twitch. That's fine. But I think just because of the community sentiment, we would never want to do that. I think a big part about Kick is listening to the community, understanding what they're concerned about, trying to be receptive. And by all means, if we started doing that, I think that would cause, a lot more problems than what it's worth. Stake is, as it is, a successful business that doesn't need to have intrusive ads to continue working. So we won't be looking to do that at any point.
And then playing off that too, XQC, I'm sure you saw it, was in a debate/conversation with Hasan and Pokimane. And we gave you XQC side, you answered that. And I think a lot of the community is going to appreciate that answer. We'll see how that gets chopped up. The opposite side of that, coming from Pokimane and Hasan, it seemed like they just couldn't believe that in this current streaming platform world, they can't believe that Kick can actually make it to be a sustainable and outlasting competitor to Twitch in this marketplace, and somehow be sustainable without integrating gambling in some form or fashion. They compare this to Twitch, where they are currently. I'm sure taking more of those subsplits for themselves. Increased of ads, trying to heavily monetize the platform. Even they struggle to make money. And so, what would your response be to them saying that it might not be possible for Kick to ever be profitable or actually last in this scene without integrating gambling?
Again, I kind of revert back to my previous answer. I think the biggest misconception with live streaming is the expenses associated with it. I think a lot of this probably comes from earlier times, back in 2011, 2012, 2013, when streaming was getting really big. CDNs and the costs of streaming were much higher. Since then, technology has advanced. Streaming costs are getting a little bit more effective. It is becoming easier and easier to do. I don't believe that this whole concept that streaming is really difficult to make profitable is an excuse for companies to start doubling down on like I said, taking donations and forcing an abundance of pre-rolls and whatnot onto people. I think at some point we're not looking at sustainability, we're looking at maximizing profits. That's what I personally think is going on right now. I think there is a situation here whereby if they truly wanted to cut costs, I think there's other ways to do so. I think at this point where we're looking towards something that could almost be borderline, profit maximization. We understand a little bit more about the industry at this point where we're on the same side of the fence. And I think I don't believe it is at all required to make this sustainable. We have a very strong stance in this. By all means, with that being said, it's going to be a tough journey, right? It's going to be a tough journey. We don't expect Kick to be profitable, for at least sort of a 2-3 years as a sustainable entity. Obviously, I'm probably going to get asked about Q1. I'll be first to tell you right now, Q2 is definitely a little bit more complicated. But we do have a roadmap here to have this fully sustainable within the next 3 to 5 years, and I think that's not dissimilar to any tech company. Obviously a company can't just be made one day and be profitable the next. This whole idea that Kick is not profitable, therefore it's not sustainable, it only applies in this live streaming space, which I think is really strange. You enter any other industry and you're not profitable in day one, no one's questioning you. They're like, cool. But in live streaming, it's heavily questioned. And, fair enough. I understand, right? There's been other competitors that have come and they've gone and everyone's kind of continued to question that. But, I think that shouldn't set a precedent for the fact that it's not possible to make this work. Again, we've crunched the numbers. We think it can work. We truly do.
Unless you're going to ask this too, Jake, the two things I've heard you say, I was going to call out the two things you talked about with profitability that I've heard are talking about employees as well as maybe the overhead associated with paying people. As everyone knows, Twitch has had a lot of employees that were paid a lot of money over the years, as well as the other thing being advertising eventually rolling into that. So with those, maybe just expand on those 2 points, if you don't mind, of like the overhead associated with employee costs, as well as like when could we maybe expect to see advertising eventually to move into that? Like maybe your sales team is already out and about and trying to get advertisers locked in, and you have a rollout maybe in a year or two. Any details you can share along those lines?
Yeah, obviously it's very difficult to comment on a company without being involved in it, right? I've heard whispers, I've heard rumors that obviously people were paid absorbent sort of amounts of money at yeah at competing platforms and whatnot, and I think staff overhead is probably a big one where there was inefficiencies. You can see online what the average salary was there. I think it was something like $210,000 US, which is pretty good. Like that's a great salary as an average. So I'm sure that there's a lot of people there earning a hell of a lot of money. There was a lot of staff there. They recently laid off a few as well, but I definitely look at that as something which I think was potentially inefficient. I think that you don't need that level of overhead in that area to run a streaming platform. I think AI is a great example of something that's making things a lot easier. We're utilizing that right now for moderation and a lot of other areas too. I think it's something whereby, of course, you need staff in place to manage the platform. It's really important, but at the same time, I think it's about finding that right balance between having enough staff to make sure the platform's viable versus having so many staff that you have to start taking from your creators, right? It's kind of a balancing act here, so I think at the same time, by offering a better service, sometimes you have to almost offer a worse service. So, I think we really want to be conscientious of those costs in those regards. I think that is a really great area to cut down on for sure. So there was the second part to your question. What was it?
The advertising aspect was the other part. I know we've asked about that a lot, but more so just looking towards the future of, okay, obviously it's a great experience right now because there's no ads on the site. That has to change. And so looking forward, like maybe when that will roll out and when we can expect that.
Yeah, no, we've at this moment we're not running ads. I'd like to think we're in a growth phase right now. Our sole goal right now is to grow. We really want to grow Kick. We want it to be a name that people recognize when they think of live streaming. We want it to become a part of internet culture. We want it to be standing there with the other giants in this industry. We think we can do that. So at this point in time, the advertising is something where we're holding back on. I personally think not having ads on while streaming is actually a really great experience. And I'm sure a lot of viewers actually really do appreciate this. I think I made a tweet about this a while back. I actually went to another platform and I got hit with like 8 ads or something, and it was kind of like, whoa, after using Kick for a while and not having to deal with this, it was a bit of a wake-up call. It's like you could definitely notice the difference. So I like to think that viewers definitely appreciate this for the time being, but with that said, we will have to roll out ads at some point. But the way we roll out ads, this is a big sort of theory we have here, is we think that it can be done more efficiently. I think pre-roll ads, mid-roll ads, having 6 ads in the middle of the stream, of course it's effective. Advertisers love that, but I think there's a better way of going about it. And we've been toying with some ideas. We think that there's ways we can engage advertisers in a more effective manner that can hopefully lead to advertisers being more happy with what we can deliver them, and obviously allow us to subsequently charge a better rate, whilst also making sure that it's more enjoyable for the viewer. I think viewers, they don't love getting excessive amount of ads, which sometimes aren't even relevant to them. So, of course, I think pre-roll ads and mid-roll ads play a role in all types of social media, in all types of media. But we don't want to rely on that completely. We think that there are alternative ways to utilize live streaming to offer a really amazing marketing component for advertisers. And we are in loose discussions with a lot of people. A lot of companies have contacted us. There's always this kind of, perception thrown around like, advertisers are really hard to come by. At the end of the day, advertisers, they follow the traffic. Kick is getting a lot of traffic. There's public data available for it. We're getting, almost 100 million visits, on a monthly basis at this moment. We've got a lot of individual users. We just passed 10 million users today, right? So there is a market out there and there is value for advertisers. So we have them approaching us. At the same time, there are some advertisers that we will start approaching ourselves at some point. But again, this isn't on the cards right now. We really just want to continue to grow the platform and offer not only the best creative for experience for the creator, but subsequently also the viewer. So, trying to avoid, throwing ads at the viewers can really help the creators as well. I think a lot of creators have commented on how it actually helps their stream run, not having to have all these ads going through. So we want to hold on to that for as long as possible. But with that said, I can't promise it's going to be forever. So, hopefully make the most of the time if it is, proving to be, be beneficial.
Eddie, I hope you brought like a water or a beverage, because these have been some great answers so far. We just have so many questions from the chat. So hopefully,
Jake, it is 1:53 a.m. in Australia. So I just got to note that I probably do need to. Sorry, 12:53 in Australia. So I got to run at some point, but I'm really happy to be here for a bit.
Gotcha. Well, we'll try and hurry along then. So a lot of people also give criticism to Kick for using AWS, like they're directly funding Twitch. It's been talked on and off about for quite some time now. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, we've got nothing but amazing things to say about AWS. AWS has been a partner of ours for many years now. We've been using them on our other company Stake for a long time. We've been using them with Kick since day one. We like to think we have a really good relationship with them. We catch up with the AWS team, almost on a daily basis. We're in constant communications. Obviously, AWS is another arm of Amazon, right? And Amazon, I guess, owns Twitch. So people think naturally there's this conflict of interest. AWS is a massive entity in itself, right? And they offer services to a lot of websites and a lot of competitors to even the likes of Twitch. And they're not going to go ahead and sabotage that. With that said, Kick has been built in a way that is CDN sort of agnostic. We could, if we wanted to, and by no means am I saying that we're going to do this, but we could switch over to another service very easily. This is 2023. Technology is advanced now. We built the platform with the understanding that there is a very small chance that there's a conflict of interest, a very small chance, and that we would need to be able to switch over if required. And I can comfortably tell you, if push came to shove and there was some sort of dispute, which I don't for a second think there will be, we could switch over to another service very quickly, and it has been built that way to be able to switch. And by no means do we want to go down that path. It would suck. We love AWS. Big shout out to Avtar, our account manager at AWS. He's been an absolute legend. I don't know if there's anyone from Amazon that's watching this, but they need to give that guy a promotion. He has helped us so much. But yeah, I think I don't think that's an issue. I really don't think that's an issue.
You guys have had a lot of big streamer announcements as of late. One of the biggest and first you had was Adin Ross. And a widely asked question is do you consider Adin Ross to be a brand risk for the Kick platform?
Yeah, so Adin was probably the first person to move over that really started to make waves. And as a result of that, actually, sorry, I take that back. I think Train coming over the Kick was massive, right? Everyone started talking about it. Adin then came shortly after. And at that point, people really started going, okay, this might be a real thing. Subsequently, we've got a hell of a lot of respect for Adin. He's been a great partner to us. He's really helped us grow. Of course, a lot of people have views on some streamers. They have views on what they do. It is something which we understand and we really respect. We don't want to be on the wrong side of incorrect policy. There has been times. Listen, Adin is a friend of mine. I speak to Adin personally. I look after Adin personally. I've had to, give Adin a call and say, hey man, what's going on here? And I think this is a really big part about sort of moderation and how we can do this better. I think a lot of the time there is an element of communication that can be had between the platform and the creators to try to bridge the gap of where you may not be seeing eye to eye. We've had some really productive chats with Adin when there has been elements of controversy, and we like to think that we've definitely made progress. In terms of a risk to the brand, I'd be lying if I said no, right? There's been a lot of people that have subsequently, talked down on Kick because of the fact that some streamers have used the service. And it's something we're constantly monitoring. I think a big part about how we sort of moderate policy and content is going to be based around, being extremely receptive to community feedback and understanding that. I think from our side of things, we want to avoid heavily promoting or heavily pushing content which may be deemed to be inappropriate or deemed to be, borderline in terms of how the community has feedback. So at this point in time, there's no doubt there's a risk with having anyone on this platform. Everyone's a risk at some point. Some people more so than others, but at the same token, I think we do have a lot of respect for people that have helped make this move over to Kick early on and has helped us to grow as a platform.
And you've had other gigantic signings as of late, where we're talking about a record-setting $100 million deal to bring XQC to the platform. How does that come about? Can you describe how truly big that signing is? Obviously making national headlines. So how does Kick come to sign XQC for the supposed $100 million?
So X was one of the people that we before Kick was even made, we'd kind of been loosely discussing the idea behind building a platform and whether he'd be interested in it. Obviously to begin with, just like anyone, he was extremely skeptical. I don't think X ever thought it was going to come true. Me and him had very sort of brief discussions around it, sort of around even mid 2022, I guess. It's a big move for anyone like him. He's been the king of Twitch for a long time now, and switching platforms isn't an easy thing to do. I think he has done such an amazing job there, and subsequently it just made a lot of sense to try to bring him over and have him a part of the team. I think he truly believes in what we're building. I think he's been quite vocal about it. I think he believes in the platform. I think he believes in trying to at least challenge the status quo to an extent. I think he understands the dangers of there being a complete monopoly in the live streaming space. And I think he's starting to feel the pressure that is being applied to him by the fact that there is a monopoly and that there is no competition. And I think X is really smart to understand that risk of having no competition in the space. So he was very quick to jump on the idea of joining Kick. Of course, just like anything, someone who is extremely talented, someone who is the best in their field, they deserve to be paid well. And that's exactly how X got an incredible contract. I can't obviously confirm any sort of numbers here right now, but X's contract is massive. There's no two ways about it. But I think that's rightfully deserved. I think someone who puts in as much effort, creates such incredible content, and has become such a household name in the live streaming industry, they deserve to be receiving that kind of compensation.
Jake,
Eddie, what's up?
Can I ask a question real quick? Also, just to make sure we're doing some due diligence on the last question. I know people are gonna be a little wary about it. I'm gonna rewind to Adin for just a second, just as a follow up. I feel like a lot of maybe let's call them Kick naysayers would maybe look at the Adin situation, the situation being that he's on Kick and has done some questionable things, and look at your answer and say, okay, so are you guys just okay with the things that he's been doing because it's been bringing you in traffic? It's gotten, by all means, Adin has brought so many eyes to the platform and gotten noticed and gotten Kick a lot more eyeballs. And so is it like, okay, well, we're going to look the other way from the things that you've been doing, which have been pretty serious, pretty toxic, pretty awful stuff that, like, we've talked to advertisers that don't want to include Kick in deals right now because of that. We've talked to people who don't want to switch over to Kick because they don't feel safe because of Adin Ross's community. So to speak to those people, like, what would you say to maybe like reassure them that, hey, just reassure them, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. But like, that's what people are saying. So how would you respond maybe to those people?
Yeah, no, I think it's extremely reasonable doubts for them to have, right? It makes complete sense, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. We received the same feedback. I think to reassure them, I think the biggest thing here is, we're confident that we can pull this off, but at the same time, we have a lot to learn, right? We are figuring this out as a brand new player in the space. We have a lot of policy, a lot of lessons to be learned in how to make sure that we can create a safe environment for people, and we are constantly adapting that. I think the policies that we are enforcing and the policies that we are looking to further enforce down the line are constantly adapting. It is a work in progress, right? Against Kick is really young. It's been around for 6 months, so we hear these complaints loud and clear. We understand we have to address them. We have to make sure that we create a safe environment. That is just simply how the internet is nowadays. You can't allow for that kind of behavior. But again, I think the most important thing to take from that is we are in communication, specifically with Adin. We have spoken about the issues that have occurred, and I'd like to think that we can find a way forward where we can work very closely with Adin and not have these kind of issues. And I guess Adin's just one example out of many, right? There is many people that fall into the same category. And I'd like to think that a big part about how we want to proceed with guidelines is communication. I think a lot of platforms and social media go ahead and they kind of just ban people out of the blue and just remove their access and don't give them much explanation. We want to be a platform that puts communication first. And we like to think that by communicating and giving people a fair chance can sometimes lead to them, making the correct change. I think just pulling a switch and banning someone's channel without even speaking to them isn't typically going to change the way they act. I think there's a better way to go about it. So again, to reassure advertisers, to reassure community, I think, the biggest answer to that question is that we have a lot to learn. We have a long way to go, and we are working on that. It is extremely important to us. We aren't sleeping on that. We don't want to be known as a place where people can come and just say anything they want and get away with it. That is the last thing we want to be known as. There are other platforms at the moment that are known for that. And I like to think we're not in the same bucket as them. We're not categorized in the same category as them. We'd never want to be. So we're going to continue to monitor those situations. We're going to continue to listen to feedback. And, if there is no solution there, then of course we would have to take traditional measures to solve it. But I like to think that we can put forward a solution that won't require that to happen.
Softer questions for you too. Eddie, are you going to be signing Dr. Disrespect to Kick? And to follow up, are there any creators you guys wanted that have said no?
Listen, Dr. Disrespect, I've personally been a massive fan of for a long time, just as I'm a massive fan of a lot of streamers, to be honest. I've grown up watching live streams. I've been a part of the live streaming community since I was, in high school, and I'm having the chance to work alongside these guys is so fucking cool. It is so cool. And, Doc is one of them, right? Doc is someone that we would love to work with. We're talking with this team. We're talking with everyone, right? Everyone, it's not everyone, but most people have open communication lines with us, right? We want to work with everyone. We want to make things happen. We want to bring people over. And most importantly, we want to give streamers what they're worth. In terms of people we wanted to work with who turned us down, I'll be honest, we really wanted to work with Pokimane, actually. That was a name that we kind of discussed early on, but I don't think she wants to work with us, actually. So we'll see. We'll see if that changes.
That is a surprise. That is actually crazy, obviously, given the circumstance to Jake's
no, I'm
reaction.
serious. We were big fans, but I don't listen. That's all right. That's okay. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Following off that, Eddie, I think a lot of people out there are super curious as we had the hourly wage rumor go around and it kind of got stretched a few different ways. I know you've spoken a bit to that, and also a possible creator program. Can you elaborate more on this supposed hourly wage coming for Kick for their streamers and this creator program?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of speculation around that one. I think we've tried slowly addressing it. I think there's been some screenshots of contracts sort of floating around. One specifically with the $16. To address that one in particular. By no means is that $16 guaranteed, right? The amount can be much higher or it could be significantly lower. This all depends on a variety of factors, whether that be average viewers, chat activity, a few other factors as well. We take into account a lot of factors that we put together when trying to put together a fair hourly rate. And that's exactly what the creator incentive program is going to be based on. The creator incentive program recognizes that live streaming has value. There is a value towards every hour that you stream to an active audience. And, we truly believe that if you're making good content, and and you do have people watching you, that there is a portion of money that we can dedicate towards paying you almost a salary, I guess you could call it. It's a consistent rate, something whereby creators don't have to rely on, hoping that they get gifted money, or hoping that they, receive enough donations to make ends meet. So that's a really, really big feature that we hope to roll out soon. I think it's going to be, honestly, game changing. It's going to be something which I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. We understand there's a lot of work that's going to go into making this work and be sustainable. Obviously there's elements of abuse that will come into play, but our biggest excitement is that it's going to allow for, I think, a lot of people who are kind of maybe small to medium-sized streamers that can't really make that switch to full-time streaming at the moment because they don't get enough gifted subs or whatever it may be, or they don't quite make enough money off donations, that they'll have the ability to go, you know what, I'm going to give this a red hot crack. And we think the biggest thing that'll come from this is a next generation of streamers that are going to be, able to make it up there with some of these top players. And I think that's going to be a massive driving force behind Kick. We want to see homegrown Kick streamers, building their communities, building their foundation on Kick, and becoming, Kick born and bred streamers. And this is where we think the next generations of streamers is going to be built from, is from this creator incentive program. So, we are really looking forward to bringing that out. Just to address the $16 thing, there's, obviously we can't give $16 to everyone. That was a specific contract that was drawn up for a specific creator and then subsequently leaked a little bit on Twitter. But with that said, it could go much higher. It could be much higher than $16 as well. So, on the flip side, it depends a little bit on a few circumstances.
Eddie, I want to make sure we're respecting your time. Could you pace us a little bit and say how much time we have left with you, just so we can know about how many questions we can ask?
I'm really enjoying this. So maybe we got like another hour or something.
Okay. Oh, great.
Oh my.
Earlier, we definitely were both thinking you're like 10 minutes when you said that you didn't have too much time. Okay, awesome.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
I do want to follow up to that.
Let's say 50 minutes. It's 1:10 a.m. here, so 2 a.m. just to get a decent night's sleep.
Okay, awesome. That's great. Then to follow up on the last two questions Jake has actually asked about this hourly pay as well as the XQC signing. I know I've seen some people asking about, like, okay, the 100 million that you gave XQC was awesome, and obviously like a massive headline across news. People were talking about how it beat out LeBron James re-signing contract and stuff like that. So what is the thought process behind spending so much money on a single creator versus maybe the amount of people you could have signed with that 100 million on the flip side? Like, you could have signed, even simply 100 creators for $1 million each. So what is the thought process behind signing massive names like XQC?
I think XQC is really a rare example of someone who just has so much influence in this space. There is no one, on that level. And I think, it's not even an unfair statement to make. XQC is massive. When people think of live streaming, they immediately sort of think of XQC, and I thought that was a really we at Kick thought it was a really great statement to make to the industry. I think, most importantly behind XQC wasn't just someone who wanted to make money from this deal, and I think this will come to light slowly as he continues to stream on Kick, but he actually genuinely believes in what we're doing. And I'm not just saying this, he does as well. He's behind the project. He wants to be involved. He believes in what he's doing, with us. So I think that was also a massive factor in bringing X. We had the unique opportunity that we had someone, like I said, who recognized how dangerous it is to have a single player in the industry with so much power and ability to have control over deals, and wanted to be a part of a change. And also, someone with that level of influence. So, coming to that deal, to us made a lot of sense. From there, we want to sign a lot more people as well. It's not the only deal we're working on. There are huge signings that are being worked on, at the moment. Most likely our team are talking to many people. When you mention smaller creators though, and $101 million contracts, I think that's such an incredible point, because that's exactly what we want to do with the creator incentive program. The whole idea behind the creator incentive program is like, hold on a second, the most important people in the streaming industry, are not the XQCs. XQC is amazing, and XQC is going to help bring Kick to another level. But the most important people are those people between, say, 50 to 100 to 500 to 1,000 viewers. Those are the huge, heck, even the people below 50 viewers, right? You know, they are the people we really need to bring on board. And the best way to cater to them, we feel, is through an embedded, you know, platform which will look after them. I think putting together singular contracts for each and every one of them would be not scalable. So our scalable solution to being able to offer everyone the ability to stream with you know, without having to worry so much about like I said, you know, the subs and the donations, will be the creator incentive program. So that is a big part of that. So we're not sleeping on the idea of bringing over smaller creators. That is actually front of mind. So you know, when you see X amount of dollars, you know, used towards a contract with the likes of XQC, you know, we've got far more that we're allocating towards that smaller to medium to sort of, you know, large size creators as well. That's for sure. We understand that value, and I agree with you. I personally think $100 million contracts will always be more valuable than $100 million contract. XQC though was a singular situation whereby it was just the perfect circumstances, the perfect name, and the perfect you know, the perfect opportunity to really enter this space aggressively.
So you're saying based off the rumored, and I know you can't confirm numbers, based off the rumored $100 million allocated for XQC signing, you guys are looking to allocate far more than that for smaller and middle tier streamers in the future?
Oh, hell yeah. Way more. What we did, yeah. Obviously, we're not going to dedicate the majority of our budget to one single person. That would be insanity. You know, again, we understand that there's costs associated with entering this market. We understand that. We understand there's costs, and we accept that. We accept that this is a very tight industry that is currently held very tightly by very few players. And in order to enter it, you're going to have to be aggressive. There's no two ways about it. You're going to have to be ready to spend a bit in order to make a bit down the track. You know, I think the biggest thing when people think of these numbers, right, is, you know, the valuation on some of these platforms is in the high sort of 10 to 20, 30 billion mark, right? Like these platforms are worth a lot of money, tons of money. You know, we understand in order to take a piece of that pie, in order to have a piece of that market, you're going to have to put forward quite a bit. And, you know, from our side, the calculations make sense. They really do.
You know, a lot of people in chat have been asking questions throughout this, and you spoke earlier about building a community. And one of the big events that Twitch is known for is TwitchCon. Is Kickcon going to be a thing in the future to compete with Twitch?
Oh, it's definitely going to be a thing. It's just about when, right? I think there's been a little bit of rumors around, you know, this year in Vegas there being something. You know, maybe not on the same level as a TwitchCon, but I think you'll find that there'll be an event. You know, maybe only one night or one single day, but there'll be a presence. There'll be a presence, and I can assure you, it's going to be really cool. You know, I think we, you know, we've got a way of doing things, which I like to think resonate quite well with the community, and I think you guys are going to love what we have in store for this.
There's a lot of talk around the features that not just other platforms have been adding in response to what other platforms do. Obviously, Kick has a long way to go, but has also come a far way with some of the features they have added. Most recently, we've seen clips added. I know there's been a bit of back and forth on how clips currently are in their current state. Are there plans to improve that? And can you speak to maybe some other features that are going to be offered on Kick?
Yeah, this is probably the subject I touch on when I speak with most, you know, creators, especially about Kick, is, you know, you obviously see all the headlines, right? You see the headlines like, you know, XQC signing or whoever, right? But behind the scenes, our number one goal, and we understand this, is product. Product is the most important part of a streaming platform. We are a platform. Our job is to create a platform for people to stream on. That is the most important aspect. So the technology and the product needs to be second to none. We understand that we can't be second best or third best or whatever in terms of product. We need to have the best product. So, you know, when people look at certain features and go, oh, this isn't good enough, we know that. Like we know where we're falling short at the moment. We get it. But at the same time, we've been around for 6 months. Like we've been around for a very short period of time. And I like to think we are closing that technical gap. The gap is getting smaller. It is getting smaller, and we will close it. And I will confidently tell you, we are a tech first sort of company when it comes to, progression of the business. We have been since we first got into business, and we will, exceed that tech gap to the point whereby I like to think other platforms will probably have their communities begging to add what we have. And, I don't think that's too far off. We're going to need time. It's not easy. There's a lot of work involved. But the product is our primary focus. In the background right now, we have some of the most excited engineers working on Kick, right? It's such a cool project to work on. It's just the amount of excitement in all areas of our teams, whether it be the partners team, the development team, everyone's having a really great time. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to work on one of the coolest products in the world. I like to think it is such an amazing opportunity, and everyone is having a really great time doing it. They're working extremely hard. We're so fortunate to have some extremely talented people, working alongside us. So I think any feature you can think of that currently doesn't exist on Kick and is something that is a necessity, or anything that's lacking, whether that be, clips, as you mentioned, we recognize that, we're working on it, and we will deliver.
I think Trainwreck, you mentioned earlier, the first guy to come over, and I would say the kind of paving the way for Kick to have this this snowball impact versus Twitch. Train followed by Adin. But I think a lot of people are wondering, because there's been a bit of back and forth on exactly what his role is with Kick. Obviously he maintains himself as a streamer and creator. He's also mentioned co-ownership here of Kick. Could you clarify, like, what exactly does Trainwreck do for Kick beyond also being a streamer?
Train has been involved with the discussions around Kick from the very get-go. We have worked closely with Train now for a really long time. The very first discussions around Kick involved Trainwrecks. He's been there since before day one. He's been there the whole way. Obviously Train is heavily involved with the business. We really respect Train's opinion. Train understands a lot about the live streaming space, and he has added invaluable feedback towards the roadmap. His involvement is as much as he wants to be involved. He is able to be involved in every aspect that he wishes to be involved in. Obviously Train is a creator, he's a streamer, and that's what he loves to do best. So I like to think that he's more involved in that side of things. But with that being said, if Train turns around and says, yo, Kick, we need to do this, we're gonna realize that's a very important component to do, and we're gonna get right on that. So, I think Train is also, he's been involved since the get-go, and it's no secret that he shares a piece of ownership in the website, and so do other creators too. There are other people that we feel we want to take along for the ride with us, and I think that's really important, because this is a platform for the first time ever that is at the moment completely owned by people who actually really understand streaming. I like to think, me included, I'm not as big as Train or XQC or anything. I've been streaming a while, but all the people involved in Kick, we actually love streaming. We've grown up watching it. We stream ourselves sometimes, and I think it's important that the people making the decisions actually and understand the landscape. That is, really, really important. So subsequently, we've seen a lot of value in bringing these people on board and letting them have skin in the game. Let them be part of our success. Let's share this success amongst those people that help to create the platform early on. So when in regards to Train's role, Train is invaluable to Kick and has been from the very, very start.
Jake, you mind if I ask something with that?
Heck yeah.
So an example we've used in our stream recently, to people, especially after the Twitch conversation, was Pokimane, like you brought up, and the amount of flack Pokimane has gotten over the years. People claiming that Twitch had favoritism towards her. And so we've been saying, now imagine if Pokimane had a degree of ownership in Twitch, how much more flack or hate would she have gotten, or people talking about favoritism. So with those creators, maybe it's Trainwrecks, Adin Ross, XQC, anyone who has ownership and is also a creator on the platform, is there a concern of a degree of favoritism towards them?
I definitely can see there being a conflict of interest, no doubt. That goes without saying, right? I think what we need to ensure that happens is, if that is the situation, that we remain fair. And I think that's something that we're going to hold ourselves to. We have to hold everyone to the same standards. I think having double standards is never healthy. If someone wishes to be a part of the company in terms of ownership, and also be a part of the company in terms of creating, similar to myself, we must hold ourselves to the same standards that we hold our streamers to. There's no doubt about that. In terms of favoritism, yeah, I don't think that's something we should push. I think I'm going to use myself as an example in this one. I've been streaming tonight so far now for 3 hours, I guess. I didn't even put myself on the homepage, right? So I don't know. It depends, right? It really depends. I think that we need to be very careful. I think the most dangerous thing about that is if someone had ownership in a platform and didn't disclose it. So, as you said with Pokimane, if she owned ownership of Twitch, if she actually owned ownership of Twitch and never disclosed it, I think that's kind of dangerous. Obviously she never has, as far as I'm aware. So therefore I assume she didn't. But if it turned out that she did, in fact, I think there would be a lot of issues with that personally. But anyone who is involved with Kick, I think, would have given at least a bit of notice to the community of their involvement, and I will hold true to that. I think if someone is going to be a creator and hold some sort of skin in the game when it comes to the platform and the company itself, they need to disclose that. That's most important. Transparency is key. Just the same way, it's no secret that, again, using myself as the example, my association with Stake and my association with Kick, I think as long as people are transparent and are truthful, I think that's the most important aspect of maintaining a level of fairness.
Train and you have also spoken to the toxicity sometimes of chat on Kick. I know you've already spoken on this, but just to maybe regurgitate an answer of sometimes Kick can have pretty toxic chats. Do you guys think this is an issue? Do you plan to combat this, and how?
No, I think for us, hate speech, for example, that's something we don't tolerate at all. It's something, doesn't matter whether you're a creator or a chatter, it's something that just doesn't float on the internet nowadays. It never did, to be honest with you. It's something that we need to be extremely on top of. Of course, we always like to think that it should be something that creators hopefully attempt to manage. From a moderation perspective, that's how platforms are built, is to allow for people to easily add moderators, for them to easily, combat this kind of behavior. So we'd like to sometimes think that it's almost an equal sort of responsibility to keep chats under control. But by all means, if there is hate speech within somebody's chat and it gets reported to the correct avenues, even toxicity that breaches the guidelines, breaches policy, we are on top of that. We've actually released a really cool new feature recently, and I've seen a few people talking about it. If you're verified, you actually have access to live 24/7 customer support. And Jake, I think you can actually do this right now. If you go to your creator dashboard, you can open it up right now and start a ticket with support. So if you are verified, you could go ahead straight away and say, hey, this person here came into my chat, did this, send a screenshot, would verify it. You'd probably actually get a reply back within the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes. This is unheard of. And this is something we want to continue to do and help aid creators in combating this. Of course, you have the ability to just mute it. But toxicity in chat is something we don't want to be known for. So I think we want to work with the creators to combat that. Hopefully we can all work together, because it doesn't benefit anyone at the end of the day. It doesn't.
This is a huge one that we've been asked so many times by so many people that are curious, as you have hinted in your past about Kick wanting to potentially integrate more esports, potentially some broadcast rights out there. So is Kick truly interested in esports as a part of its future?
I like to think that streaming was really built on top of esports. Well, live streaming as we know it right now, especially in the English speaking market, esports was such a massive component to the success that we've seen with other platforms. We recognize that and we truly support it. We're in discussions with a lot of the esports right now. We understand that there is people actually heading in the other direction at the moment, starting to sort of, peel back a little bit from esports. We're looking at it the opposite way. We want to secure as many rights, potentially even exclusively. I think, we normally have most of our contracts non-exclusive, because we never want to sort of handcuff people into streaming in one place. But esports and esports, live streams is something that we really want to continue to get into. We think that's the key to long-term success. We like to think that a lot of people who got into live streaming found live streaming through esports. We recognize that. And we think if we can secure some really great relationships with some of these major leagues and also minor leagues too, not just the major ones, but the minor upcoming ones as well. We think that can help to ensure the longevity of Kick and bring more and more and more people to the platform. Our job here is not just to bring people over from other platforms. We want to bring new people into streaming. With that's the biggest thing here. It's not just about taking people from this platform or this platform. It's about finding, getting new people involved in the industry and whether they be a viewer or a creator themselves. That's what we're all about doing, and we want to continue to support that through esports because we think that is the single most important funnel for live streaming.
What esport would you want most here on Kick?
I guess obviously, the cornerstone esports such as League of Legends, Dota, and CS:GO, right? They're the first three that come to mind. They're the ones which have managed to stick around despite, they've become a cornerstone of the internet and especially esports. But we understand that's not easy. That's not an easy task. We're probably going to start with smaller, smaller leagues in smaller categories. I think that's the best way to go about this. You can't just go straight for the top, right? We want to support some smaller esports that are up and coming. We see a lot of potential in a lot of sports, esports rather, which are a lot of fun to watch and require funding, and that is something we want to help them with. We want to be a part of their success story. We want to help build up new esports and make sure that they succeed and subsequently we succeed with them. I think it's a massive opportunity for us to get involved. So of course, yeah, the large ones are where we're aiming for, but it can start anywhere, right? I think we need to start small and make our way big.
And you guys have also had some big collaborations. One that comes to mind is Drake. A question from chat being, do you guys have any future plans to continue to collaborate with these massive celebrities or bring people on that your own creators can then interact with on Kick?
Yeah, no, we were speaking with Drake actually a few hours before this stream actually, and he was talking a little bit. He's gone on tour, right? And maybe toying with the idea of doing some streams sort of when he's backstage or after the shows and stuff like that. He was really interested. I think a lot of celebrities are looking at live streaming right now and going, "This is really cool. I want to get involved." They recognize that live streaming is here to stay. Live streaming is a serious industry, and they want to get involved. And I think we welcome that. We really do. I think we should bring them on board. With that said, though, I think the biggest misconception with live streaming, and I just want to address this whilst you talk about celebrities, is this is what happens is a lot of people think, okay, live streaming is just another form of social media. They're able to open a Twitter account and be instantly famous. They can open an Instagram account, be instantly famous. They can open a Facebook account, whatever, be instantly famous because of who they are. But live streaming is such a different form of social media. I'm sure you've seen this as well. Not every celebrity that live streams ends up making it big. It's actually much harder. It's actually such a unique form of social media where it's almost on par with being kind of like a skill set in itself. It is so much more difficult than people understand and realize. So at the same time, we don't want to waste exorbitant amounts of money, signing up celebrities who aren't going to grind it out. Like, we understand that live streaming takes drive. It takes hustle. It is a hard industry, a hard art to master, and we recognize that. So whilst looking towards celebrities as a part of being a part of the Kick ecosystem, we also don't want to burn unnecessary amounts of money on people who aren't going to be as dedicated as, say, XQC, right? XQC is putting in hours, he's putting in content, and understands how to do it. And I think that's something that people sometimes fail to recognize. It is much harder than it seems, and it requires a lot more dedication than people expect.
How much did Drake cost?
I can't disclose people's deals, but listen, there's speculation on the internet. Drake, we've had a long-term relationship with Drake with the stake side of the business going back before Kick, right? And that's that's been a natural relationship that we've maintained. And we're really proud to have Drake on the platform, and I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of him.
Gotcha. Bouncing back really quick, because gambling has, of course, been a hot topic. I know if anyone just tuning in, we talked a bit more about the gambling stuff on the front end of this interview. But XQC taking on Hasan and Pokey had a lengthy discussion at this, and I know I brought it up previously. But on the other side of things, XQC obviously signing with Kick had an entirely different take. But on the other side, more from Hasan and Pokey, they had criticized, and other people have as well, the Kick platform of what they are saying being directly linked to stake, because Kick is owned by Stake. And so that side of things, people think that because Stake has ownership in Kick, that they are directly or indirectly influencing users to then go gamble. What would your response be on that?
Well, first and foremost, Kick isn't owned by Stake, as we discussed before. Of course, there is similarities in ownership, so I think it's not fair to dismiss that argument simply because of the fact that that one entity doesn't own the other. But I think it's a completely reasonable, concern to have. I completely understand that. I think to answer that question, I think actions speak much louder than words, right? If you go to Kick right now, you're not going to get pre-rolls with stake ads. You're not going to see that. If you go to any other social media platform, you're going to get a lot more gambling ads than you get on Kick right now. I can assure you right now, you are going to be much more prone to forming a gambling habit through advertisements if you're on another platform. So of course, it is an extremely reasonable concern to have, and I think it's a healthy debate to have. But I think as time goes on and people see how we continue to position the platform and prove that we're not here to funnel people to stake and whatever these assumptions are, and again, they're perfectly reasonable assumptions, and we will continue to prove them wrong as months go by and years go by. People will start to realize, wait a second, this is not what these guys are about. Of course, it was a reasonable theory to begin with, but that is not our goal. We look at Kick as a much bigger project than Stake. Right now, I would almost debate that Kick could be valued at a higher amount than Stake even. This is bigger than Stake. This is a bigger project than Stake. Stake was something that listen, I love Stake. I've been involved with it now every single day for the last 6 years nearly. It's my baby, right? But Kick will eclipse Stake is what we want to look at this as. It is not a funnel to Stake or a extension of Stake by any means. Stake exists independently of Kick, and Kick will one day hopefully be our main priority. And that is the way we look at this. There is much more business opportunity in making Kick successful than Stake. But with that said, I don't want to say we're ever shifting away our focus from Stake. Stake is something we is a product that I'm in charge of maintaining, high quality of standards. And I don't want to say for a second that I'm moving away from it. I don't want to worry my Stake customers by any sense. But at the same time, Kick is something that will be our primary focus. And it won't be because of the gambling market. It'll be because of the social media market and the value it holds in that regard.
And
Jake, with Stake and Kick, a specific question here that a lot of people have maybe just had their own speculation or theories. Was the banning of Stake on Twitch directly tied with the founding of Kick?
No, I think what will come out soon, and I'm sure it slowly already has, is these discussions around Kick existed way before Stake was banned from Twitch. I think it helped to potentially speed up the process. But the founding of Kick was very much based on the fact that we found that we were actually spending more time with large creators than even Twitch itself, right? We were sitting there talking with hundreds of people on Twitch. And listen, I respect Twitch's decision to not allow Stake and 3 other websites on their platform. I respect that, and that's fine. If I'm told to get out of someone's house, I'll do it, right? That's their choice to make. But the discussions around being able to utilize the fact that we had really great relationships with all these massive creators and they loved working with us was something we realized very, very early on, much before Twitch banned gambling, that we could actually leverage into to building something bigger than just existing on top of that platform, right? We understood that this was something we could again, like I said, the play here is that Kick is bigger than Stake, right? The opportunity to create a platform to compete in this space is the opportunity of a lifetime. And we had developed and fostered those relationships through being a part of the ecosystem on Twitch. And again, whether that was, something people appreciate or not is fine. And I understand both sides of the argument. But Kick was derived from those relationships and from our ability to get to know all these amazing creators, not from the banning of Stake. It's, again, I think it sped up the process. That's it.
I think on both sides, viewers are curious about that, right? Because Twitch coincidentally timed the banning of unregulated gambling with a DraftKings announcement, and then shortly thereafter, Kick pops up too. So I think viewers are maybe not skeptical, but questioning on both ends the origins of it. But why did you then start Kick? Well, what was the ultimate reason? What was the day you sat down and we were like, oh, let's do this thing? Why start Kick?
Again, I think it really comes back from the fact that we had the ability to speak with a lot of these creators. We understood their frustrations. I think the frustrations with other platforms has been going on for a while now. It's no secret that people have issues with the larger players in this space, and they're only getting worse, right? It seems like that frustration is growing, and we had watched that even from our, even from the time we'd worked with creators from, early sort of 2020, we started sort of working with creators on a business level. We watched that frustration grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And we started to realize, wait a second, I think there's an opportunity here. And we had these discussions, sometimes jokingly and then sometimes more seriously. And we started realizing there is a world where we could actually do a better job than this. We are, we have the capital, we have the funding, which is amazing. But of course, we also have the relationships and we have the expertise to build this out and make this actually happen. So, when we looked at this, we saw it as, honestly, again, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to go head to head to an extent with the likes of these giants in the industry. It's an extremely large market. There's value in being a leading player in these sectors, and we recognize that value was potentially could be contested if done correctly. So that is something that we really want to achieve. And again, I like to think that this is truly an opportunity of a lifetime to have a shot at. Not many people can say that they're running a business or being involved in a business or contributing to a business that is so quickly challenging the status quo in such a fun and entertaining area of business. And, that is truly the driver for me personally, right? And of course, at the end of the day, Kick is a business, and Kick is something that we want to make profitable at some point and continue to run as a viable business opportunity. We are businessmen as well, right? We're business people who want to, create business that can profit and operate sustainably. So that is ultimately what we're looking to do. I think there's a whole lot of factors involved here. I could talk for ages about where my passion for Kick came from, right? I think it's almost a perfect storm of being the one industry that I just truly love, combined with the fact that we were so well positioned, both from a financial, from a relationship, from a, sentiment with the other competitors. It all just made sense, and it all came together at exactly the right time. And that's where Kick is right now.
Hunter, just so you know, I'm winding down. I only got a couple questions left on my end, but an important one at that a lot of people have been talking about. Is there a viewbot or inflated viewership issue going around on Kick? I know you've spoken to this previously, but any other words on updates on maybe fixing this supposed issue?
Yeah, I think we've addressed this as well, right? I think that the key to combating viewbotting and issues with viewers is always going to be through transparency. I think that's something that we need to work on supplying. And I tweeted about this one a little while ago, and you could feel free to get a more in-depth sort of analysis on what our plans are around this. What we want to achieve here is we want to allow creators the ability to really open the visibility on where their viewers originate from. What we've learned as a platform now is that issues like viewbotting and inflated viewers are really obvious, right? They are really obvious. If we go to a channel that is obviously viewbotted, you'll see that all the people watching the stream are from the same country, from a data center on a proxy. There's a bunch of red flags, right? There's real traffic and there's fake traffic, and it's day and night. It's really obvious to see, and we've got the tools. We want to open that up. We want to allow people the ability to share their stats. At the same time, we can't compromise, people's privacy. The viewers' privacy is extremely important, and I don't want to sleep on that fact. But we really think that there will be a way whereby creators that ever get questioned will have the ability to try to, at least show their legitimacy. Because I think the worst thing in this streaming industry is when people unfairly get accused of viewbotting, and that's what we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of people who are being unfairly accused of viewbotting, and that's frustrating. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of probably, very fair accusations, but there's also very unfair ones. And I think people deserve the ability to see the same stats that we're seeing and share that with their community. So that's just a little project we're working on to try to address that in a proactive way. Obviously, inflating viewers or inflating likes or inflating followers is something that is an issue across a lot of platforms. Botting is something that all social media platforms see. We want to try a unique approach to adding a level of transparency around this. And I think it will be really effective in combating that.
Last one from me. One of Twitch's biggest offerings for a lot of their streamers is Twitch Prime. Is there an equivalent of the Twitch Prime sub ever coming to Kick, or is that a thought on your mind?
Yeah. No, I think we could make something happen there. I've got to be careful what I say, but
Yeah.
Amazon is an amazing company, right? Amazon actually loves Twitch Prime, right? They love Twitch Prime because it actually helps, it helps Amazon Prime, right? I think it is a smart marketing play. At the same note, we're actually quite well partnered with Amazon, and we like to think that there's a really great relationship there. So maybe in a world, and I don't quote me on this one, but maybe in a world, Twitch Prime, so Kick Prime could exist. Who knows? I don't know, right? Listen, I don't mean to put any false rumors out there, but that is a potential discussion that may or may not be happening.
You're gonna get quoted, Eddie. You know that's gonna happen.
Hey, listen, I don't want to get in trouble is more the problem here. But again, it's a possibility, right? Twitch Prime is a marketing play. It is a marketing play which is actually beneficial to Amazon. They see value in it. And I think that they could see value in other platforms maybe.
Allegedly. That'll end that clip. I'm sorry, I got one last one for you on my end, Hunter. I know you maybe got some insight on yours. So recently, well, I guess we'll step it back. Adin Ross, Trainwreck, streaming the Super Bowl. XQC, I'm sure you saw headlines recently streaming some well-known movies. Is this going to continue on Kick? Is this something that you don't enjoy seeing or you're going to crack down on?
I think, yeah, DMCA is no joke. It's no joke. It is a serious topic of discussion. It's something we've now got. So we've actually had now for quite a long time. There's a 24/7 team around this. We can instantly be contacted by anyone with the relevant rights to any sort of intellectual property or copyright or anything, and that we take down immediately. We take instant action against this. It is something that we are constantly evolving. We're working on improving. We want to ensure that we don't get on the wrong side of people with the relevant rights, and we will continue to do our absolute best to work with, anyone who holds these rights to this content, because we completely respect DMCA and we do have 24/7 people looking into this. So it's not what we want to be known for. Kick isn't a website for you to come do that.
Gotcha. Hunter, I know you got some good questions, man.
Yeah, I got a couple. So before we switch off of, I have a question about Stake, but I also have a question, since we're talking about features in general, we just talked about Prime. What feature from another platform that you consider a competitor, that could be anyone, do you want to see most on Kick?
Ooh, I like to think that there isn't anything that stands out as a major feature that we don't currently have. I can think of a whole bunch of small ones, right? Don't get me wrong. There's a whole bunch of small little nitty picky things which we would love to have, by all means. In terms of major features, I think we're ticking most of the boxes in terms of what a platform is required to do. We have a long roadmap of upgrades to our existing services. I think we can do a lot of what we're currently doing better. Back to my discussion about being product first. We want to be very much product first in terms of how we develop out this platform. We understand there's so much we need to to continue to improve on. In terms of new features, though, I'm going to have to revert back to the creator incentive program. That is truly the one that I think is going to be game changer, and I think we really, really think will be the one that will. I personally just can't wait to get it out. We don't want to bring it out prematurely, but that's the one I just cannot wait to get out. And outside of that, everything else I like to think is just slowly closing the nitty picky sort of parts of the technical gap that we currently have with competitors. We understand we are a little bit behind, but we are going to catch it up. We're going to close that gap, and that's going to be on all fronts, right? But in terms of core fundamental features, I don't know if you thought of one. Is there one in particular that you think we should add?
I think there's a lot of people who will say the things that you're referring to as these technical features, whether that's Kick being on console or on TVs, whether it's different features with VODs, being able to clip from VODs, whether it's just clipping in general, like stuff like that. That I think I have to imagine are in your roadmap already.
Oh yeah, so that goes without saying. All those features, that all goes without saying. Obviously that's just not just one highlight of what I'm looking forward to. That's not something we should be looking forward to. That's a requirement. That's something we need. That's something we're gonna get. It's extremely important. So everything you've mentioned there is, it's on the roadmap, and it's coming. Awesome. Probably sooner than you think.
Okay. I have a couple more. So because of your specifically unique perspective about Kick as well as Stake, I'm not sure how much you can talk to this, but with Twitch, there was a lot of stake deals on Twitch, obviously, before they decided to make the decision. Were you guys seeing a lot of return on those deals, or like what was the goal of the stake deals with so many streamers? Because they were everywhere, and it was a main topic of discussion for a really long time. So I have to imagine you guys were seeing some form of profitability or return, whether that was on the marketing side or if it was on direct like ROI.
I think we were Stake as a company was very quick to realize some of the potential behind live streaming when done effectively. I like to think, again, this is kind of going back to our discussion about how to market successfully, on a platform, right? And I think it's without saying it was a successful campaign. I think we did see an ROI on that campaign, and I think the fundamental reason we saw a return for investment on that marketing campaign was because we took something that people genuinely enjoyed. We took it, and then we had them demonstrate it in real time to their viewers and showed that authentic love for the product, right? Whether that be a Drake stream or something where you can see he understands what's going on. He loves to play on Stake, and people felt that, right? They weren't like, hold on, this is just someone on Instagram posting something. They could see and feel that they were genuinely enjoying the product. And I think that's what makes live streaming so powerful from a marketing perspective. I think when it's done correctly and you actually pair up an influencer or a creator who genuinely loves a product and has reach, that's when you have this perfect storm of being able to actually sell a product. And this is what I think is a little bit more powerful than just your traditional pre-rolls. I think being able to pair a product with someone who actually gives a damn about it, and people can then subsequently, see that, whether again, you Train's the obvious example, right? Train loved to play on Stake. Everyone knew that. And I think that's what made it powerful. That's why it made it a strong message. A lot of people have tried to advertise, gambling on Twitch, right? And people still try to do it, but they haven't done it successfully because they are not understanding what it takes to make a successful partnership. It really takes someone who actually cares about your product. You can't just get someone with reach and then give them a product and say, go sell this. That's something that I think a lot of companies don't understand. We understand that, and I think that's what subsequently made the Stake marketing campaign on Twitch back before Stake was banned from using Twitch quite successful. Was our ability to pair together people who genuinely wanted to advertise it.
Was there any world where a common perception of some of those deals was maybe there's rigged odds, or maybe people are gambling with fake money? Would there be any response to that?
Yeah, no, I think obviously there was controversy that came out of the gambling side of things. There still is controversy on it. Obviously there is still gambling on Twitch. There's gambling on Kick. There's gambling on YouTube. There's gambling on all social media platforms still. And I think people still question a lot of what goes on. I think there's some very unfair comments though in regards to what is defined as acceptable versus unacceptable. I've heard some ideas around whether it's regulated or unregulated. Again, using Stake as an example, Stake is actually making a very big move into the US market with a large acquisition that's upcoming, and we look forward to hopefully being able to work back on Twitch under their guidelines. But I have a feeling, I'm not sure whether they're gonna follow through with this whole concept of what's regulated versus unregulated. Once we meet their regulations, what will happen? Of course, it doesn't matter. The Kick is still be our focus, but again, I think it is something which doesn't necessarily mean that there is a good and a bad by any account. Of course, there was a lot of speculation around the money side of stuff, and I completely understand that. I think things got extremely, there was incredible amounts of money that was being bet at any given moment. I think that is something that personally I don't believe was good for anybody. I don't condone that at all. I think that was something which attracted unneeded attention. But in terms of the legitimacy and the authenticity of the gambling, that is something that of course we were very, very serious about. And again, this comes back to our marketing strategy that I discussed before. If you have an authentic use of the product, then that would actually lead to being a successful campaign. And obviously when it came to gambling in your example, having real money is the most important aspect of having an authentic experience. So again, to address the speculations, of course, it was, I'm not going to confirm that. I'll harshly deny the fact that those rumors are true. We wanted to keep everything extremely above board in all areas, and there has been no revelations around that otherwise. I think it's always been speculation.
Awesome. You talked about a U.S. acquisition. If you guys acquire DraftKings, I'll lose my mind. That'd be a great way to stick it to Twitch there.
Do you think Twitch would allow Stake if we did something like that?
I don't know. I mean, that'd be the big question. That would be a telling moment for Twitch, right? Like if they're partnered with DraftKings, then Stake comes along and acquires them, and it's like, okay, guys, well, here we are. So, I mean, that would be wild. I think, Jake, unless you have another one, I have a pretty not to qualify my question, but an easy softball here.
Let me get a stupid one in real quick.
Okay.
Just to appease chat, all right? We need some stupider questions, and that's what just me proving that right there. Before Hunter gets this one in, Eddie, there's been a lot of talks about some big CEOs around the world, maybe getting into some fights, getting in the octagon / maybe the boxing side of things. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk is the most recent rumor. Is that something you'd ever find yourself being involved in with other CEOs? Maybe not against other stream platform CEOs, but in general?
Listen, I won't say no to that. I actually did 6 months ago start getting a little bit into mixed martial arts. I've enjoyed the experience. The person I trained with is actually fighting right now on the card in the US at the moment. So I've actually probably want to check how he's doing, but I wouldn't turn down the opportunity. I've done crazier things in my life, put it that way.
Hunter, all yours, man.
Sorry, I am going to reference chat real quick because we've had people spamming this, so we are going to ask. I personally don't know a ton about this question, so I plead ignorance to that. But people were asking about the relationship between Kick and Saudi. I think there's been some speculation about that. I'm coming from ignorance there.
I think I know what you're talking about. It's a couple of videos or something where they kind of mention like Kick is owned by Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, like the money or the cryptocurrencies coming from Saudi Arabia, I think.
Yeah, that one is just another one of the lists of rumors which I think we can, we typically just disregard. I'm not sure where that originated from or where any kind of proof of that is, but we are listen, we actually have a lot of Arabic speaking streamers on Kick and we're welcoming them, but by no means do we have any source of funds originating from Saudi Arabian businesses or income in that sense. So I'd like to, as much as we welcome Saudi Arabian or Arabic streaming speaking streamers. We by no means have any business ties with Saudi Arabia, I guess at this moment, but again, it's a very strange one. I'm not sure where that one originated from, but
Yeah. Okay. Then I think the kind of the last easy one from me that I think is a good one to end on, unless Jake, you end up having another one, is just in Jake's conversation with Dan. He asked about kind of the viability of Twitch specifically, and Dan responded with saying, "Hey, I don't see Twitch going anywhere in the next 10 years. Like as far as he sees it, this is going to last another 10 years, and they have plans for, you know, this, and this. So on the flip side for Kick, do you see this lasting, you know, another 10, 20 years, or what is your, you know, what is that roadmap looking like? Like, is it 5 years that you know, like, do you guys have a countdown of like, hey, we got to be profitable by 5 years or we're out of here? Do we have to be profitable by 10 years kind of deal?
no, what we're doing here, this is a long-term project. This is not something that happens overnight. This is not something that happens in 6 months. It's not 12 months. It's not 24. It's not even 36. I don't think. I think it's going to take longer than that to really achieve what we're looking to achieve. This is, you know, I like to think this is not a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan. It's longer than that. This is something where we want to make Kick a cornerstone of the internet. And I've mentioned this before. We want to make this a pillar of the internet. We want to make sure Kick is a part of what is culturally understood to be the live streaming platform of choice. And that is what our ultimate goal is here. And that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't even happen in 5 years. I think, you know, obviously using Twitch as your example, it's taken them, you know, 10, 15 years to get where they are right now. And I think, you know, we might not need that much time, but of course we're going to need a lot of time to do so. And this is something where this is a business that I want to be a part of, you know, hopefully for the rest of my life. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon. This is a long-term play, and we aren't expecting results in the next 12 or 24 months. We haven't set deadlines like that. We understand things take time, and I think that's the most important thing, the most important message for the community, you know, is really to give Kick a bit of time. You can't expect in 6 months for us to come in and you know, be the number one platform and to grow at the speed that we want to grow. You know, but at the same time, it's definitely possible. And with enough time, I do truly believe that we can make that happen.
So Kick will not be the next Mixer.
I think that it's a difficult industry to get into because of Mixer. We hear it all the time, right? And again, I kind of want to relate back to what I said about sort of, you know, celebrities and them coming over to streaming and suddenly thinking I'm a celebrity, so therefore I can be a professional streamer. You know, I think Mixer is a great example of Microsoft going, oh, we're a huge tech company, so we can just do live streaming and make it work because we got money and whatnot. You know, streaming is an art, right? It is something that people don't typically fully understand unless you've really been a part of it. It's got so many nuances. It has so many aspects to it that in order to understand you just have to be involved. And that's where I think Mixer missed the mark. I just don't think they quite understood some of these very core components about what makes a streaming platform successful. And that's where I think Kick is different. Kick isn't, again, using Facebook and YouTube, they've all tried to enter streaming, right? But they haven't succeeded. And I think that's why Twitch succeeded well. Obviously, you guys know the you know, the origins of Twitch. It started with Justin TV, which was made by, I guess, Justin himself, right? So they understood streaming. I don't know whether those people that started streaming are still there now. But here at Kick, everyone involved in it, we get it. We understand it. And for that very reason, I don't think we pose any risk of being the next Mixer. I will rightfully say I think we've already surpassed Mixer's success. And we've invested a lot of money, and we're going to continue to double down. We're going to continue to invest resources, time, and we really do believe this to be an extremely long-term project. And I think Mixer has left a sour taste in people's mouth, and I get that. I understand that. And I think people should be naturally very skeptical of Kick because of the likes of Mixer. But I think as we continue to grow, as we continue to survive, as we continue to bring on more and more creators and stay true to our word and stay true to everything I've mentioned in this interview, for example, I think people will start to realize, wait a second, this is different. This is different. But again, I understand, you know, we're gonna need time. We're gonna have to earn people's trust, and rightfully so. And we're prepared to do that.
My last one, Hunter, you good on your end?
I'm done. This is it. Here we go.
All right, we'll wrap on this one, chat. Eddie, if there's a small streamer out there watching right now, why should they join Kick as opposed to Twitch or other competing streaming platforms?
I think right now, Kick genuinely has everyone's best interest in mind. We aren't sitting here doubling down on maximizing profitability at the cost of the creator. We're not doubling down on maximizing profitability at the cost of the viewers. We're doing the opposite. We understand that in order to succeed, we need to look after you. We understand that we're nothing more than the platform. We understand that what makes the platform successful is not the platform, not the technology, not the stage that we give the creator. It is the creator themselves. We get that. And without them, we're nothing. And I like to think the other platforms have started to forget that. We aren't going to forget that. We understand where we came from. We understand the origins of why this is going to work. We understand why now is the perfect time to become, hopefully, one of the top players in this industry. And it is because people are starting to forget about these guys. They're starting to forget that they are the reason these platforms exist. And for that very reason, I think they should hopefully have faith in understanding that we will continue to look out for them, continue to respect that, and not take that right away from them. I think other platforms are looking towards, aspects such as reducing people's ability to even advertise their own sponsorships and whatnot. Anything like that is a very scary move to make, and that is something you should be very wary of investing your time in. Think of streaming as an investment of time, and if you're going to invest your time, invest your energy into a platform, then you need to make sure that platform is going to be a viable long-term solution for you. And I like to think that Kick understands that, and we will continue to live true to our word on that regard.
Eddie, we cannot thank you enough. That's going to conclude this lengthy interview. We want to thank Eddie, but also both the chats involved, as Eddie was live this whole time, pulling some pretty insane viewership yourself, man. Impressive stuff. Thank you for all the answers. We hope to do this again in the future, but we can't thank enough everyone involved for today. It's been an amazing time. Some very good insight, of course, on the ongoing streaming platform wars, Twitch versus Kick, and everyone else involved as well. Eddie, we can't thank you enough for doing this, and we hope to do it again in the future. All right.
Thank you so much, guys. And also big shout out to Dan for also doing this side by side with me. It is really appreciated that someone of your level, someone that I respect personally as someone who has come a long way, decided to do this interview side by side with me. It means an absolute ton. So thank you guys for putting this together. It's been a great opportunity, and I like to think that we can do it again soon.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. Eddie, we will let you get to frickin' bed, okay?
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right. See you guys.
Later.
Bye.
Hey, dude.